don't forget, join me again next weekend for more Texas home improvement. All right, David, is that it? Perfect. We'll talk to you a little bit later. You know, here on the radio show, I get a lot of calls from time to time about swimming pools and how can I fix the cracks without tearing up the pool and tearing up the backyard. Well, we're going to take a look at that. Then we're going to show you the do's and don'ts of one of the most expensive repairs that you can have done to your house, and that's replacing those old rotten cast iron pipes with PVC. That's today on Texas Home Improvement.
Smile. You woke up in Texas.
I'm Jim Dutton, and I've been a contractor here in the great state of Texas for over 40 years.
It ain't a good day till we tear something up. Tools make the job.
To help as many people as I possibly could, I started a radio show over 20 years ago. Now to help even more people, I'm rolling up my sleeves and hitting the road.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Oh, look how beautiful it is.
In Texas, most contractors don't have to have a license, so it's buyer beware.
And that's what you get when you hire a bootleg contractor.
You don't know what you're talking about. I've been building homes for over...
Yeah, and I've been fixing homes for over 40 years because of people like you. It doesn't work in Texas. This is Texas Home Improvement.
All right, today we're in Plano, Texas, doing a crack repair on a pool. First step is, of course, is to identify the crack. And what we've done previously to be in here today is we've dove the structure and we do dye testing for all these cracks to make sure that they're pulling dye through the wall. And then after that, we just go with the initial crack installation, which is a pretty easy process. We just use a angle grinder with a 4-inch blade, cut a slot stitchways in the crack just to give it some structural strength this way so the crack can't pull apart, and we'll install these cracks. Crossways, sometimes we can't get it into the crack crossways because of the curvature of the pool, and the cracks are pretty strong. You can't bend them, so we have to put it in the crack long ways, which is the same strength basically, it's just turned at a different angle. So this is a carbon fiber staple from a company that makes these specifically for concrete construction. It has a very high tensile strength, it does not bend. We use this because it's a non-corrosive material and we don't have to worry about it rusting, we don't have to worry about it coming loose. You know, once it's in there for life, it's not coming out. But that's why we use crack stitch staples. We lay it in there crossways because it doesn't have a lot of strength this way. So when you turn the staple this way, long ways, that's where all the strength comes from because of the way that this carbon fiber is stitched. So that's why we install them long ways like this. After the cracks are installed, we'll install this product right here inside the crack and then flush it out, and this will basically set up in about 2 hours and it'll be sandable in 2 hours. After the crack process is done, we'll inject ports into these holes that we drilled through the center of the crack. And what these ports do, it allows us to inject foam behind the wall, and then this foam will penetrate through the crack and seal from the backside to the inside of the pool. And after that, what we'll do is we'll seal the crack with a surface seal product, and it's basically a two-part epoxy that'll just seal itself on the outside of the crack, and then the process is done. So the rest of the crack gets surface sealed, which is this product right here, and basically it just seals the crack so that the foam penetrates the wall. It doesn't come back out through the wall and make a mess, and we know that it's getting full penetration through the backside of the wall to the inside of the wall. All right, now we have the staples installed, the ports installed, the sealer for the crack so that the foam that we're going to inject can't come back into the pool. So it may come back in some places, but that's okay. But most of the product is going to go behind the wall and force itself back into the crack from the backside. So what we'll do is we'll just inject this cracks a little bit just until it tells us to stop. It'll give us a little bit of restriction. We'll stop, we'll move on, and we'll just kind of go through the cracks and do the whole rest of the pool and the ports. And then this process will be over. This is a mixing stem, and by the time it gets to the end, both the products are mixed together. So as soon as it leaves this point, it takes about 30, 45 seconds, and then it becomes foam. So they say that this bottle will expand 20 times this initial size. So this crack is pretty big. We're gonna try to put 2 of these in this crack. We'll see how successful we are, but we don't really know yet. We just kind of put it in there until we start seeing it. Sometimes we'll start injecting at a lower one and it'll come out in a top one. So then we'll actually plug it, or just plug the bottom one and start injecting here so that we see that start coming out a little bit higher. So this is good on the crack here, this foam coming out. That means that we've injected it inside this crack and it's made its way all the way up the back side of this wall. It's actually coming out of the top of the beam on the back side of the wall. So we know we have really good penetration on this crack with the foam. That's good. To me, I like to see the foam come back out of the open holes because I know that it's got good penetration.
You know, most people think that the only good use for foam insulation is to insulate the house to make it more energy efficient. Well, there's a lot of uses for foam, and one of them is to seal up leaks in a swimming pool. They even use it to seal up leaks in storm drains. I'm telling you, there's a lot of uses for foam insulation and other foam products. You just have to know where they're using them. But one of the things that people don't realize is you can test your swimming pool to see if it has a leak. Most of the time, it doesn't. It's just evaporation. But the best way to tell, take a 5-gallon bucket, fill it with water to a certain mark, and mark it. Float it in your swimming pool. The water in the bucket should go down at the same rate that it's going down in the swimming pool. If it doesn't, you got a leak in the pool. If your house was built in the mid-70s or earlier, more than likely it has cast iron pipes for the sewer lines under it. Now, a lot of homes after that started going to PVC, but there were still some areas where they were requiring cast iron all the way up into the 80s. It wasn't the right thing, but it was done. And if you have that old cast iron pipe, you're more than likely on borrowed time and having to get it replaced. So if your home is in cast iron, you're going to want to watch and learn from what Adam's about to tell you.
So today we're at a house and we're actually doing a full underslab sewer drain repipe. This house actually had an old cast iron system underneath the home that we're changing out completely for PVC. Now, cast iron's a little bit different than PVC in that it does deteriorate over time. I've read studies that expect cast iron lifespan to be anywhere between 40 and 70 years. Now, we really stopped using cast iron in the mid-70s. There were some municipalities, like right here in Plano, that used it a little bit longer, kind of deeper into the 80s. But with that time frame, we are getting towards the end of the life of those cast iron systems. Now, what happens is that cast iron does start to rust, erode, just essentially disintegrate. This house in particular, as we were digging, the pipes were just crumbling and falling apart as we were trying to excavate around them. It was just so deteriorated. And that does become a problem because you don't want to have raw sewage leaking underneath your home. That could just be an environmental issue. It can seep up into your living space. Working at Due West, obviously, we deal with the foundation side of things. That sewer leak, adding a bunch of moisture into the soils, can actually cause a lot of foundation issues as well, just from the soils expanding in a very isolated area. So you really need to be prepared to address any issues you have with the cast iron when the time comes up. Now, most people don't even know that they have a leak whenever you're dealing with a sewer leak issue. I talk to homeowners every day and ask them, oh, have you ever had any sewer issues? And I would like to do a hydrostatic test on your sewer system to see if there's a leak or not. And a lot of them will respond, oh no, we've never had an issue with our plumbing, it always drains great. And that's good, but just because your system functions in the sense of removing waste doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't have a leak. So you always want to get a hydrostatic test on your system, especially these cast iron systems, just to make sure that you don't have any leaks causing further issues. For this house, and really how we deal with most houses, is we actually tunnel underneath the home to gain access to the sewer system. Now when we're doing that, we're excavating a 3-foot wide, 3-foot deep area, and we're digging the length of the pipe. Now, once we go in and put all of the plumbing back, at the end of the day, we put all of that soil, but you're not gonna be able to pack that soil to 100% of what it was before. So at Due West, once again, we also do foundation repair. We have an understanding of what's gonna happen to the home further down the road. We actually like to install piers, just support piers, to be able to support the house in that area to prevent any settlement as that soil compacts there. And honestly, if you've had that leak happening for quite a while, all those soils around that area have become saturated with moisture and more than likely have swelled up. Once you repair all those leaks, those soils are going to dry out and start dropping rapidly again. And without fail, pretty much every house I've ever looked at that has had one of these plumbing repipes and did not put support piers will come back in 5 to 10 years later and end up doing foundation repair on those homes. Just from the outside here, you can see that there is some cast iron. And just as we were digging out, you can actually see that it is completely separated. That pipe just disintegrated and fell apart as we were digging out around it. And that location is actually particularly bad because it's actually located on the P-trap of the plumbing system. So that is where you have a bend in the plumbing. It's designed to hold water there and prevent gases from getting up into your home. But when that P-trap leaks, because it is holding water, you're actually getting more moisture released from that location than you would if it was just a leak along a straight lateral where the water flows past it real quick and just keeps going. So that is crucial to get repaired right there. So one thing I actually get into an argument with other engineers and architects in particular, and even sometimes tree arborists, is the older generation likes to say that tree roots just can't grow underneath a house. And speaking with those arborists and people like that, their explanation is that there's no oxygen underneath there. They're not gonna grow. They need that oxygen to be able to grow. No moisture underneath there. But they are so dead wrong, it's unreal.
You know, we talk about this on the radio show all the time. There's a couple things that really tend to cause foundation problems. Tree roots and leaking pipes. Now, the question is, what came first, the leaking pipe or the tree root? We got a tree root here that's growing at least 15 feet in from the outside walls. You know, some people will tell you tree roots won't grow under a foundation because there's no light. There's no light underground anywhere anyways. That tree root doesn't know where it's going. All it knows is it's looking for moisture. And if you got tree roots growing up under your foundation like this, likely you're going to have a foundation problem at some point in time.
We dig tunnels every single day and find tree roots across the house from where the trees are actually located. They do grow underneath. When you have those plumbing leaks, they're going to grow towards those plumbing leaks. They want that moisture. Believe it or not, there's actually air in that system, so they're going to get the oxygen that they say they're not going to be getting. And they're going to further cause damage to your plumbing system that if it's leaking, it already is damaged, but just make it so much worse. So one thing we do at Due West is we actually hand dig everything that we do, from the tunnel underneath to the trenches on the outside. The reason for that is, especially when you're dealing with just residential homes, you're in a neighborhood, there is a lot of utilities and things of that nature that are in the ground that you need to be able to work around, that if you come in with a trenching machine, you're just gonna tear it up. By hand digging, we can actually avoid damaging your irrigation system, your fiber optics, your gas lines, and just do a much better job of maintaining the rest of your home system around it. So one other thing with dealing with these cast iron systems is I have a lot of people that want to do just a partial repair. And while yes, you can do that, and I understand the allure of that because you save a lot of money from having to do an entire home, I actually do recommend against that. The reason being is the way you connect PVC to cast iron is you got to use a rubber boot. And on that boot, you're actually tightening these bands that cinch onto the plumbing there. And over time, that cast iron deteriorating, that band actually ends up crushing that cast iron plumbing right there. And you end up just following that plumbing line down further and further. And you end up replacing an entire system anyways. It's just better to get the entire system replaced all at once so you're not having to re-dig the same tunnels over and over again to do small repairs that, fact of the matter is, they're not going to be long term.
When replacing pipes underneath a house that you've tunneled under, a lot of people wonder why are they hanging the pipes instead of just letting the soil hold the pipe in place like new construction does. Well, first of all, new construction, it doesn't stay in place either. That's why we get dips and bellies in it. If they would put the hangers in when they're building a home, you'd avoid a lot of that. But secondly, the soil's gonna move, especially where the tunnels were. It's gonna settle and try to repack, and you've gotta have something strong enough to hold it when the soil starts to move, otherwise the pipe will move again. Originally, they were letting you put those hangers 6 and 8 feet apart. Most codes have brought it down to about 4 feet now.
One other item, if you're a new home buyer or just moving into a new area, it's always good to get a hydrostatic test. It's a simple yes or no test on the sewer system, just to have that confidence that you're not gonna have to do this type of process to your brand new home. The reality is, this is not a cheap endeavor. You don't want to spend all that money on a new home and then just immediately turn around and have to do a project like this in order to maintain that home.
You got a question during the week? Go to our website, thipro.com, and click on the Ask Jim button. If you're looking for a great contractor, one that'll treat you fair and get the job done right, go to thipro.com and take a look at the contractors in your area that I've already checked out. Hey, got a question about your project? Join me on News Talk 820 WVAP every Saturday at 12 o'clock. You can call in, ask your question, and get your project going. Don't forget to listen to Texas Home Improvement every Saturday and Sunday right here in Houston on News Talk 740 KTRH.
Don't forget to listen to Texas Home Improvement every Saturday right here in Austin on News Talk 1370 AM KJCE.
Oh! Yes, I am fine.
Oh, 3, 2, 1, go.
This is Shane with Texas Octodoc, and today we're gonna do blah blah blah.
That's all right.
So you thought the only real use of foam was for insulation? We'll try that again.
I'm good.
Out of stuff. Well, I think that looks good without that.
Great.
Back up.